All Saga Meats brings you an opportunity to get all your meat-related questions answered by Spencer Wirt, the Meat Dude. You can text those in to 35270, or you can call us at 237-5948. Spencer, my man, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. This week is seemingly flying by, so I'm not complaining one bit over here. I got a couple of things, questions already in for you, but I do want to let people know because the cat's kind of out of the bag. All Saga Meats that sponsors this segment, we're counting down the days to their grand opening, and Afternoons Live will be live there when those doors open. But I want to let people know that they are looking to hire meat cutters over there, and I know that is something that you know a lot about. So tell me about what that entails, about a meat cutter.
I can't 100% speak for what all saugers are looking for, but most of the time, meat cutter is defined as someone who's taking already packaged portions of meat, cutting it into retail specifications. So you're taking, let's say, a rib roll, cutting it down into steaks. You're focusing on presentation, marketability, things like that. And knowing Josh and his awesome new facility, which I haven't been into yet, but I hope next time in Fargo I'm definitely going to be texting him and trying to get in there to see it. But that's kind of what a meat cutter is. You're not necessarily involved with slaughter. You're not necessarily involved with carcass fabrication, but most of the time the term meat cutter is just the end guy, the last step before it hits the consumer.
Very good. Well, if you are interested in anything remotely close to that description, check them out, All Saga Meats, down on Veterans here in Fargo is where they're looking to hire. And again, we're counting down the days to that grand opening coming up in just a short amount of time. We'll tell you more details in the days ahead here. I got questions for you. Spence, I hope you got answers. 35270. Tyler, question for the Meat Dude. How much waste is there when trimming out a filet mignon loin?
There's actually a lot, and if we talk about buying like a packer tenderloin, meaning like what the big guys, how they trim, package, ship to a retailer per se, the yield of a tenderloin into actual fillets is only like 30% of the total weight, because the tenderloin only has a nice center section that's cut into really nice steaks, that it has a butt section and a tail section, both of which you can still cut steaks out of, but they're not going to be the perfect filet mignon that you're picturing in your head. There's only a small little portion of the tenderloin that goes into that. So it's actually only about 30% of the whole tenderloin is a true filet mignon. Now, that's not to say that you can't utilize the rest of it in some means or another, but a really nice steak, only about 30% of the whole tenderloin.
All right. 35270. Apparently beef Wellington's on people's minds. I've got 2 or 3 different texts about beef Wellington from different numbers here, and I'll read this one that's a little bit more detailed. What is so special about beef Wellington? Somebody else goes, what is beef Wellington? So take it any way which you want to.
Yeah, well, I've never cooked this dish before because of that text that said, what's so special about beef Wellington? I've definitely had that same exact thought. But beef Wellington is tenderloin, usually wrapped in like mushroom, some kind of mushroom concoction, and then there's a bread around the outside of it, and then it's cooked to a medium rare, and you slice it into steak portion sizes once it's cooked, and that's beef Wellington. I think Gordon Ramsay, that famous chef, I think that's his name, he's made that pretty popular across the world, probably, this beef Wellington dish. I think it's very difficult to make. I think, it's not something that you're just going to be able to, I'm going to make beef Wellington this weekend and knock it out of the park type scenario. But, I don't know what's so special about it, but the dish intrigues me, but not enough for me to try to make it at home.
Gordon Ramsay, huh? He's the guy that put this on the map recently?
I think so.
Was he cussing people out before, during, and after this whole thing?
Yeah, that's kind of his calling card, ain't it?
Yeah, that he seems to have a wide vocabulary of insults. So I suppose find a way to make it interesting as you're watching that. Well, we don't have an answer. And if somebody has done Beef Wellington, wants to let us know at 237-5948, this microphone is yours. Let us know. You ever done venison ribs? I had a friend that had shared a photo of that. I've never done it. I've never even considered doing venison ribs when I've actually been able to harvest a deer. Have you?
No.
Okay. Would you?
I stay away from venison ribs. No.
Why not?
We talk venison on this show every once in a while, and I hope you recall my opinion on venison, and that is it should be made into sausage, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of venison in and of itself, and venison fat also has a very strong, unique flavor, we'll call it, which there is going to be some of that with the ribs. So not for me, but cooking a rack of ribs is essentially the same no matter what animal you're dealing with. It's just the size, the weight, the time that it takes to get them collagen and everything to tenderize to come off the bone.
So I should tell him, don't be stupid. Don't ever try this again. I didn't get a
No,
chance to ask him
no.
about the outcome, what
If
the
it was
product
good.
is. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm all for people. That's what I always say on the show is try something new. Don't be afraid to. But I know that I don't like venison. But that's not to say somebody else doesn't really enjoy venison ribs.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll have to circle back as the business lingo goes with them and say, well, how did it turn out? Because you know how this goes. You've seen it. When somebody's like at a restaurant or if they just made this dish, they always take that photo before the plating. They want everybody to know what they were able to do, but you never really get how the dish was. It's all about the presentation. I want to know how it turned out.
Yeah. And they might think it's really good, and then, somebody else sitting right next to them might think it's not good. So, yeah, I don't know.
352.
It's all relative.
It is all relative. It's all about the taste buds. It's about what you prefer. 35270. I would say this is a judgment-free zone, but regular listeners know it's not true. Question comes in. How long is too long in the freezer?
Depends on how it's packaged. If it's paper wrapped, 6 months. If it's vacuum sealed and it got a good seal and there's no signs of any air and oxygen getting into that package, man, I got stuff in my freezer for 2 years that I'm still gonna eat. But what it really comes down to is how it's packaged, how well that seal held. If it's vacuum packaged, keeping oxygen out, keeping freezer burn away from it. Meat will last a really long time, frozen solid.
So you may have said it. I was reading somebody's comments about venison ribs in here, so I apologize if you said it and I missed it. What's the deadline? Let's say it's vacuum sealed. You don't notice that there's any imperfections in the packaging. That all of a sudden you look a couple years down the road, you open up your chest freezer and you see a date, a year that you had packaged that, put it in. What's too far out for you? Is it beyond 3 years or what?
No, I don't have a timeline.
Okay.
If that vacuum package held and did what it's supposed to, which is actually a lot harder than one would imagine, to last for 3 years in the bottom of your deep freeze without busting open is a miracle in all reality. I don't have a timeline. It all just depends on the product.
Okay.
Now, to my customers, I tell them, you should eat this within a year, right? Vacuum package, frozen, eat it within a year. Everything's going to be just as good as it was, 3-4 months ago. So
I want to get your reaction to this. I was asking you about venison ribs, and this comes in. Venison ribs are awesome, ground up and mixed with pork. Okay, amen.
Yeah.
All right, that deserves a clap of that one.
That's good.
Kind of tongue-in-cheek. I enjoy that. Spence, again, All Soccer Meats is going to be opening up here in a couple of, well, I shouldn't say a couple of days because it's not. It's going to be, the countdown is on. Anything else? What's going on out there that you want to get off your chest before I let you go on this Thursday afternoon?
Nothing really. It's same old out here in New Salem. It's cold. There's snow. I cut meat every day, and that's about it.
Very good. Well, I'm glad not much has changed since last week or the week before or the month before, or really, I guess, what have we been doing this for, like 5 years now? Glad things are still chugging along. It's always a pleasure, my friend. You take care until next Thursday, all right?
Sounds great. You too.
All right, Spencer Wirt, the Meat Dude. Every week brought to you by Alls Auger Meats. Again, they're currently open in Audubon. You know that. We've been telling you about that for years now. The South University, no, not University. How did University come into my mind? How about South Veterans in Fargo? The clock is ticking. We're counting down the days to when those doors are open. They're getting the products ready for you. And you keep it locked into Afternoons Live, and we'll tell you when. And in fact, we'll be over there during that grand opening. Somebody called in. Did they want to talk beef Wellington or not? Not at all? I'm talking your ear off back there. I thought maybe you were getting a good scoop on what beef Wellington
No. But I'm somewhat familiar with it, and Spencer hit it right. It's typically wrapped in a puff pastry. Is the outer shell of it.
I've never
and I think it's a
seen.
Traditional British dish, and that's where Gordon Ramsay comes in and has that influence on modern culture.
Yeah, interested until the whole mushroom situation.
Yeah,
so
it's almost like a tapenade, if you know that's olives, but it's mushroom. So it's like a mushroom paste, sort of. You cook it down with some wine and some other seasonings, and that coats the outside of the tenderloin roast, and then you put the puff pastry over the top of that.
Have you had, or do you just watch a lot of Gordon Ramsay?
I have not had, but I have seen a lot of preparations of it online. Okay. And I think the difficulty is in getting the cook right.
I imagine, yeah. Without like burning
either burning the
bread,
puff pastry or
getting that medium.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
Not really intrigued. I'm with all of you saying, what's so special about this? I don't know. It's not something that I'm jumping up and down for joy to
I
give it a
do
shot.
think that part of the idea behind the mushroom component of the dish is to introduce some fat back into a tenderloin, which is a really, really lean cut of meat.
I suppose that would make sense, but there's other ways I would imagine you could achieve. 237-5948. That's Lenny's studio line. Adventure RV provides you a text opportunity at 35270. Get you some messages from All Soccer Meats when we come back. Get your ideas, if I have just a little bit of time, about why House Republicans wouldn't take a win. I'm Tyler Axness. Afternoons Live has just started right here at KFGO.